Today on the Big 3 in 30, Baylor gets a big commit out of the portal.
Kayden Mingo is transferring to Baylor.
Kansas manages the loss of Bryson Tiller to the transfer portal.
Bryson Tiller was down to Miami and Missouri.
And Tennessee gets a commit out of the portal as well.
Jalen Haralson committed to Tennessee.
This is the Big 3 in 30 College, the three biggest stories on campus from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The Big 3 in 30 College starts now. Thank you for making the Big 3 in 30 your first listen of the day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com and win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Baylor landed a major portal addition with guard Kayden Mingo going to Waco. Cam Stewart has more on Locked On Baylor.
The big news Thursday afternoon, Kayden Mingo is transferring to Baylor from Penn State. Now, here's the thing. Kayden Mingo is a good player. One that there wasn't a lot of buzz around for Baylor in particular, but because Mingo commits, not only does Baylor get a good player, but they might just get a second good player as a result. Let's start with Kayden himself. Comes from Penn State, point guard, over 13 points a game last year. And I talked about him a little bit in yesterday's episode, but I almost want to pull out the Shaq meme and that, son, I wasn't familiar with your game. To give myself some credit, I did know he was good, that he was, I believe, all Big Ten honorable mention. He was over 13 points a game for a not very good Penn State team last year. But I trust Evan Miyakawa with my life. I trust his models more than almost anything in college sports. And he has Kayden Mingo as a top 20 transfer at evanmia.com. Like, this was a big-time recruit out of high school, and he really got better in college. Evan Mia, the metric, loves the playmaking ability. They love his defense. They gave him an A grade for defense in the 97th percentile. And scoring volume, just at a B. For a guy over 13 a game, you'll take that. The one thing they don't like is court impact, which I don't really know what that means, but his scoring is good. His playmaking is really good. His defense is also really good. So that's a good player that you're bringing in here. And if it starts tomorrow, he's your starting point guard. All due respect to Isaac Williams, and we love Isaac Williams on this podcast, but Kayden Mingo is a plug-and-play starter. Isaac Williams can be your second point guard and still get a lot of minutes and play a valuable role for next year's team. That's guessing that he does, in fact, stay around now. That's not fear-mongering. Like, he's got a contract, but so did Rob Wright. And now someone is coming in to play his position. Kayden Mingo, in and of itself, in a vacuum, is a heck of an ad for this team. It is. It is. There was a lack of kind of buzz around the buildup, but this is a good ad to Scott Drew's team. So it's a small amendment from yesterday. I knew he was good. I didn't know that it would be a good fit. It's going to be a good fit. That's a good player. Evan Mia has him in the top 20, so I'm happy. But of course, the big kind of domino effect that could come here is with Kayden Mingo coming to Baylor. That could mean that the reopened recruitment of Dylan Mingo, his younger brother, could point right back to Baylor. Now, we've talked about him a little bit the last couple of weeks. He committed to North Carolina, 5-star, going to be a freshman from Lehigh, VJ Edgecombe's alma mater. And the last three were North Carolina, Penn State, where his brother was, and Baylor. So now it's like, okay, of course he's going to come to Baylor. Like, that makes the most sense in the world. And I talked about this on yesterday's show as not being a positive. Like, I didn't want Baylor to kind of corner themselves again with like, okay, we got the 5-star freshman. And that's going to cover up a lot of our wounds here. Because as we've seen over the last couple of years, it doesn't. You've had good players. You've had Tunde Yesufu, VJ Edgecombe, guys like that. But they didn't elevate your team. They didn't cover up some of the other holes on your roster, I think is probably the better way to put that. So I was not excited about the potential of a terrific playmaker like Jalen Mingo, who doesn't shoot all that well, and it's probably not something he's going to get better at in 1 year at Baylor. But on the other hand, Jalen Mingo is probably not going to play next year. He's got an injury that he sustained last month, I believe, that's probably going to keep him out the whole season. And I know people are listening to this right now and thinking, okay, you said but, so how would Jalen Mingo having a season-ending injury make things better for Baylor? Well, something else we talk about a lot is guys trusting the process with Scott Drew. It's Novocaine, man. If you give it time, it will always work. Look at Scott's track record of all these guys who came in and sat out a whole year and became markedly better. Davion Mitchell, man. He sits out an entire year, is a starter the next year, and is one of the best defensive players in the country. And then by playing for Scott Drew that year, comes back the next year and is the best defensive guard in the country and is an elite three-point shooter, can get to the basket, score on anyone, and wham, bam, he is a top 10 pick a year after not shooting the ball. So let's add all this up. Kayden Mingo is a heck of a player right now that's not really a pro prospect. Now, a lot can change over a year because last year we were saying the same thing about Cam Carr. And now he is in the NBA draft, and he is a legit first-round pick pro prospect. But Kayden will probably want to play with his brother, and his brother's going to sit out a year in redshirt and probably be able to practice at some point next season and is going to develop under Scott Drew. Now you are getting two talented Mingo brothers to stay for more than 1 year and actually develop and actually have some continuity. So for all the reasons I didn't love it yesterday, where the writing on the wall was Baylor wasn't really going hard for Kayden Mingo, didn't know what the interest was there, and Dylan wasn't going to elevate you for 1 year, versus how we look at it now, where you could have two of them 2 years from now and a pretty good one next year. That has changed my tune a little bit. It has, actually a lot, because now I like it. Now, there is that opportunity, that chance that Dylan Mingo can't practice at any point next year. That's a low likelihood. It'll probably be like any injury. You'll be able to practice at some point in the next calendar year. And he doesn't really develop, and he does have the same issues the next year, and then he's gone after that one. But that's a low likelihood. The high likelihood is that he is going to practice with the team at some point next year. He is going to develop under Scott Drew, and then you'll have two Mingo brothers in the 27-28 season. And I know that's a long way off, but we're planting the seeds of that right now. Still need Dylan to commit, but Baylor was the runner-up in the first place, and now his brother plays there. Let's do the boy math here. It's probably going to be a Bear.
If you've ever opened your bank account and thought, where did all my money go? You're not alone. Keeping track of subscriptions, spending, and bills can get overwhelming fast. That's where Rocket Money comes in, helping you take control of all your finances in one place. How does Rocket Money help you keep track of those finances? It tracks all your subscriptions in one spot and can help cancel the ones you don't need with just a few taps. It can automatically categorize your spending so you can actually see where your money is going. It just makes everything feel more organized and gives you a clearer picture of your finances day to day. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Workplace chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill still sitting open. When the pressure's on and you need the right hire, this is a job for sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs help you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for. Skills, experience, location. So you're not just hoping the right candidate stumbles across your post. And here's a stat that says it all. In the minute I've been talking to you, companies like yours made 27 hires on Indeed. That's according to Indeed data worldwide. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching and more time interviewing candidates who check all the boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Spend less time searching and more time actually interviewing candidates who check all of your boxes. Less stress, less time, more results. When you need the right person to cut through the chaos, this is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to help get your job the premium status it deserves. It's over at Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support your show by saying you heard about Indeed right here. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? This is a job for Indeed sponsored jobs. Bryson Tiller is leaving Kansas for Missouri in a tough portal loss for the Jayhawks. Derek Johnson explains the fallout on Locked On Jayhawks.
So Bryson Tiller was down to Miami and Missouri. And sounds like he got a bag too. I mean, it's just rumor stuff right now. So I don't know, like what type of money is he actually getting, right? That's kind of a big question. But it does seem like he got a lot of money and ends up going to Missouri. And this has rubbed a lot of KU fans wrong. And I think in general, it's the furthering of the college sports is no longer what it was. And, you know, this kind of sucks that we're at a place where like people are transferring to their rival and stuff. Yeah, I don't love it either, right? I don't like it, right? That's kind of the thing. I'll say this though, and I've seen a lot of people very upset with Tiller, and you know, I still think Flory is the bigger villain of the offseason. I think that's actually going to be a very unpopular take among KU fans, and I get it. Tiller's going to your biggest rival in Missouri. I totally get it, right? Here's why I view Flory still as the bigger villain, and to me, it's I don't even know that it's as much of Flory as the bigger villain as Flory's whole camp, like Flory with his guardian and the whole group, I guess, but. You know, here's a couple of reasons why. There were a lot of KU fans, not everybody, right? There was a lot of KU fans that wanted Tiller back and wanted the continuity for Bill Self, but there were also a lot of KU fans that were like, hey, this ain't working with Tiller. He's got to go. They can upgrade the position. And to be clear, I think KU did upgrade the position with Keanu Dawes. But like, here's the thing. If you think Bryson Tiller is not very good, then shouldn't you be happy he's playing for a team that you have to deal with? Like, don't you want your rival to be worse? You know? But here's the main reason to me. Tiller was kind of tossed aside. Like, sure, I'm sure Tiller transferring did have a bit to do with he probably didn't have the best relationship with Bill Self. That's probably from both sides of the party, right? Obviously, the benching toward the end of the season. And sure, whatever money Bryson Tiller got, like I'm sure KU didn't want to match it. Probably wasn't worth, you know, not having a great fit for Bill Self for, you know, paying him too much money. Right. So from that standpoint, there is a little bit of you didn't agree upon something. And so you end up going somewhere else. But at the end of the day, there is a bit of an element of KU not wanting to match the role or the money or whatever with Bryson Tiller that I could understand from Tiller's perspective of being like, you kicked me to the curb. And as much as we want to admit it or not, a lot of us, not everyone, I'm sure some people are better than others at this, but a lot of us, when you feel wrong, do you want to stick it to the guy? You know what I mean? You want to stick it to the guy who made you feel wronged. And again, I know from our perspective, we can see it as, well, this is a business and you're getting paid millions of dollars. So like, this is just part of the game. And clearly you weren't a good fit for Bill Self. I can understand how from his perspective, he would see it as, you're kicking me to the curbs. I'm going to try to prove you wrong. I'm going to go to your rival. Again, I don't love it, but I at least can understand it a little bit more. With Flory, he was never tossed to the side. Flory never got to a point where KU was like, hey, we don't really want you anymore. Hey, we don't think you're a good fit anymore. No, Flory left because his guardian was chasing the bag and was selling him off, in January of 2025 to Bruce Pearl and Auburn, and then ended up coming back and was selling him off to Duke and some of these other schools in January and February this year too, with 1 foot out the whole way through. So like, I don't love where Tiller ended up transferring to, but I can at least understand it. Whereas with the Flory one, it's not as, I don't know. To me, that's still the bigger villain, but both are villains for KU fans at this point, right? And KU gets a chance to play both of them this season. The Louisville game's an exhibition, and then this one's going to be at the Sprint Center, the T-Mobile Center. So it'll be interesting how those go. But yeah, very interesting world we're in now with college sports. I will say though, like I said, I do feel like Kansas upgraded with Keanu Dawes at the 4 position, because KU got much better rebounding. As much as KU was playing 2 big lineups with with Tiller, they weren't using it to the advantage of being a great rebounding team. Dawes is a better rebounder than Tiller. Dawes also has much better efficiency inside. Also, Dawes isn't like a lights out shooter. He's a fine shooter, but he's still much better and more consistent than Tiller. Now, obviously, the difference is with Tiller, you have that potential, right? What could Tiller become? And that's the thing that scares you. Could it be another Zuby situation? That's always what scares you in the back of your mind, right? But again, like, the Zuby one is different. With Tiller, it's like, would it have ever worked with Bill Self? Because it just seems like that was never going to, like, I go back to like when Tiller picked KU out of high school. And I remember reading something, I forget where it was, about how he compared his own game to, he liked to play like Jason Tatum. And that's great. Like Jason Tatum, great player, top 10 player in the NBA, yada, yada, yada. Bryson Tiller's a big. He's a 4'5". Jason Tatum is not. Jason Tatum is a wing. And so when I saw that, there was a little bit of a light bulb that went off in my head going, are we sure this is going to be the best fit? Because I've seen this story before where Bill Self has a big man who doesn't want to play like a big man, and that don't fly. And so I don't know if it would have ever been a great fit. Whereas you get Dawes, I just think this is a better fit for kind of all parties involved, to be completely honest.
The NHL playoffs are here, where every shift matters, every moment is intense, and the pressure is at its highest. And just like the performance matters on the ice, it matters off the ice too. That's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette offers treatments designed to help you get ready and stay ready when it matters. Their top option, Rougiette Ready, combines clinically proven ingredients in a simple mint that dissolves under your tongue. They also offer Go Long, designed to help with both performance and control. It's all about confidence and feeling like yourself again. Head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL and get 15% off your ED treatment. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNHL for 15% off. Rougiette, performance medicine for men. Welcome back to the Big 3 and 30 College. Tennessee gets a big boost with Jalen Haralson committing to the Vols. Eric Kane has his reaction on Locked On Vols.
Jalen Haralson committed to Tennessee on Wednesday evening, and then it was Chris Washington Jr. that committed to Tennessee from the prep ranks on Thursday afternoon. So all that and more coming up right now on Locked On Vols. Let's start with the portal edition, and that is Jalen Haralson. Jalen Haralson coming over from Notre Dame. He is a former McDonald's All-American, a former 4-star rated prospect, one of the top players in his class, completed his freshman season at Notre Dame where he played small forward. 6'7", 220 pounds, and he had a really good freshman season. 6.2 points per game, 4 rebounds per game, 2.6 assists per game, and 27 games for the Fighting Irish. He visited with Tennessee earlier this week. I believe that was on Tuesday. Went ahead and committed to the Volunteers on Wednesday shortly after that visit. And, he's a Volunteer. Haralson shot 51% from the field, played a little over 26 minutes per game this year. Well, actually, almost 27 minutes per game this year. In 27 games that he played, he started 23 of those games. He averaged 2.7 turnovers per game, 69 assists, to 74 turnovers on the season. He picked Tennessee over North Carolina, over Ohio State, and becomes the fourth transfer portal addition at the time of this recording for the Tennessee Volunteers, joining Tyler Lundblade from Belmont, who's a guard, Day Ames from Cal, who's a guard, and center Miles Rubin, who's a shot-blocking big man from Loyola Chicago. Again, Rick Barnes is clearly, and we'll get into this here in a moment, clearly emphasizing offense in this transfer portal class, and that is just with the latest addition of Jalen Haralson. Again, you're seeing a lot of backcourt presence. Tennessee's still in search of a point guard, and we'll talk with Ryan Shepard more on that here in a moment. Tennessee hosted Terrence Hill Jr. as well, VCU point guard. He visited Kansas earlier this week, but did make it to Tennessee's campus. So Tennessee, of course, is off and running in the transfer portal and doing a really, really good job. I like to pick up at Jalen Haralson again. Is a scoring first small forward. Over 16 points a game as a true freshman. Durability has been good there. Rebounding can improve, no doubt. Turnovers need to come down just a little bit. But what he did in terms of putting the ball in the basket, that's big. Again, for this Tennessee basketball team that is clearly emphasizing offense. Lundblade from Belmont, clearly one of the best shooters in the country, statistically speaking. Day Ames a good shooter. And then, of course, having to replace Felix Okpara, and Tennessee did that with Miles Rubin from Loyola Chicago. So I like what Rick Barnes is doing. And, again, that emphasis, you're always going to play defense if you play for Rick Barnes. Okay? Defense. But those that continue to die on this hill of, well, Rick Barnes, he's not going to put his guys in the best position because they got to play defense, right? Or he doesn't value offense over defense or anything like that. I invite you to go back and look at the last couple of transfer portal cycles. I don't think Dalton Knecht was that great of a defender. Signed with Tennessee, SEC Newcomer of the Year. Chaz Lanier was not known for his defense. Signed with Tennessee, SEC Newcomer of the Year. Jacoby Gillespie was not known as a defensive point guard or defensive combo guard. Signed with Tennessee, SEC Newcomer of the Year, and also broke a couple of records, one of which being from Zakai Ziegler in terms of steals in a game for Tennessee. So his defense really came around. Like, you can coach up defense. Defense is going to be stressed, no doubt about it. The backbone of your roster is still going to be defense, but Tennessee's proven, like, hey, we've been to 8 straight tournaments, 4 straight Sweet 16s, 3 straight Elite 8s. What do we have to do to get over that hump? To get to the first Final Four in program history for Rick Barnes, to get to his second Final Four, I believe, overall in his Hall of Fame coaching career. Of course, 04 with Texas, he went to the Final Four, if I'm not mistaken. But what's it going to take to get over that hump? Clearly, you've got to emphasize offense. You got to have some guys that can be scorers. In this day and age, it really does not behoove you to have 5 players on the court, and 2 of which are not offensive threats. So Miles Rubin, sure, is a defensive-minded pickup from the transfer portal. But what is Felix Okpara and JP Estrella, Kate Phillips? What are those guys feasted on the last couple of years from Zakai Ziegler, from Jacoby Gillespie? It's the lobs, the lob offense, getting to the rim, putting the ball in the basket. I think Miles Rubin can benefit on that as well. But I love the way that Rick Barnes is attacking this transfer portal cycle, and he's clearly getting the benefits, the backing, if you will, to go out and get these done. I mean, so far in this transfer portal cycle at the time of this recording, Rick Barnes is 4 for 4. My colleague at VolQuest.com, Mike Wilson, posted a gif of Mariano Rivera running in from the bullpen. I mean, that seems to be what Rick Barnes is doing when these targets get on campus. You're closing. That's what you like to see. So I love this assembly of talent that we're seeing right now for Tennessee in the transfer portal. The latest coming from Notre Dame, former McDonald's All-American, and Jalen Haralson, small forward who averaged a little over 16 points a game last season as a freshman. Also on Thursday, you picked up Chris Washington Jr., 4-star forward in the class of 2026. He announced his collegiate decision on about 4:30, 5 o'clock yesterday, and he was on a visit with Tennessee earlier in the week, right? He tried to get to Tennessee a couple different times during the season, but due to the ice storms and snowstorms and everything worked out, wasn't able to do it, but did get on campus this week, and he committed to Tennessee officially, publicly, I should say, on Thursday afternoon. Formally committed to Alabama. Washington reopened his commitment. He is from Murfreesboro, so he's an in-state prospect where he attends Providence Christian Academy. He is ranked number 49 overall in the Rivals industry rankings for the class of 2026. 6'8", 185-pound forward. Again, is committing to the University of Tennessee. So, again, not all these roster spots are going to be filled by transfers. You're going to fill it with a prep player, maybe more. We'll see what happens. But Chris Washington Jr. was one of those prep players like, hey, would be a great fit in this class, and that one is one that makes so much sense, and Tennessee was able to get it done. So Tennessee now has 4 signees for the class of 2026. You have Chris Washington Jr., a small forward that is now joining a class of Marquise Clark, 3-star point guard, Manny Green, 4-star guard, and 4-star small forward Ralph Scott. The class is ranked 37th overall, number 8 in the SEC, and you've got Scott, which is the highest ranked prospect of the quartet at 58th overall, 6'8", 185 pounds, number 22 small forward in the class, number 7 player from the state of Florida. Green, 6'6", 205 pounds, 138th overall, and then you've got Clark, number 217 overall, number 38 point guard, number third ranked prospect out of Illinois, where he attended Whitney Young High School in Chicago. So again, you look at kind of bringing this all full circle right now, all right? So you have a signing class, 4 now, with the addition of Chris Washington Jr., small forward joining point guard Marquise Clark, 4-star guard Manny Green, 4-star small forward Ralph Scott, okay? And now you have 4 transfer portal additions in Jalen Haralson, who's a small forward, Tyler Lundblade, which is a guard, Day-Day Ames, which is a guard, and Miles Rubin, which is a shot-blocking center from Loyola Chicago. That's 8. And then you couple that with Dwayne Brown, who's a big man returning on your roster, Troy Henderson, who's a point guard, and at the time of this recording, still no Ethan Berg to the portal, so you got to count him right now. That's 11. We'll see what Clarence Masamba wants to do. Enter the portal, but there's some chatter that he might return. I know On3's Pete Nakos reported that kind of earlier in the week. But right now, you're at 10 players on your roster right now. Still, I think there's 16 total spots to fill because you have a DSA in there. And we'll see what Clarence Masamba is going to do. We'll see what Ethan Berg is going to do. Nate Ament still will make a decision at some point, but assuming he's going to go through the NBA draft process. And, there's still some big fish out there. Again, Terrence Hill, point guard from VCU. Tennessee wants him. Juke Harris, Tennessee's very much in that one. From Wake Forest, obviously some heavy hitters in that one as well. And then we'll see if any other names kind of pop up. But, man, I love this assembly of talent. I love the way that Rick Barnes is going about this transfer portal cycle. You can teach defense, and you're going to have to play defense, or you won't play for Rick Barnes, but you've got to have some shot-making ability. You've got to have some guys who can put the ball in the basket, and that's what Tennessee has done with this strategy in the transfer portal, and I think Tennessee's done a heck of a job so far.
That's all for today's Big 3 and 30 college. If you follow pro basketball or football, the Big 3 and 30 has shows for the biggest news in the NBA and NFL going up every weekday just like this one. Just search the Big 3 and 30 NBA or the Big 3 and 30 NFL wherever you're listening or watching now. Thanks again for tuning in to the Big 3 and 30 college.